Hey, you don't want to miss this episode. We're going to dig into part 2 of the Nelson Nash book review, Becoming Your Own Banker. I absolutely love this book. Let's get right into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Control and Compound with Darren Mitchell. Joining me as always, Christina White. Christina, how are you?
Hi, Darren. I am doing awesome. I'm super excited for part two of this series and to talk more about the book.
Yeah, no, I love this. I love the whole book. I love this portion in particular. So I'm looking forward to chatting today about it.
Absolutely. But before we get started, I just want to remind everybody if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please make sure you subscribe and leave that 5-star review. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you always know when new content is coming out. Don't forget to follow us on our socials at Control and Compound on TikTok and Instagram. And if you want to, you're going to want to join our new Facebook group, Infinite Banking for Real Estate Investors and Business Owners.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, so in our last part of the book review, we really talked about the technical problems of creating your own bank, and now we're really going to dig into the human problems. And I got to tell you, I've read this book, I can't remember how many times, oodles and oodles, 30, 50 times. Every year I go to the Nelson Nash Institute for the think tank in Birmingham. I always read it on the plane on the way down is my ritual, and no matter how many times you read this book, you'll find something new in it each and every time. So I encourage you, if you've read it, read it again. But the part that always stuck with me is the part we're going to talk about today, the human problems, because those just made so much sense, and I've never seen another book where they just kind of laid out these problems so succinctly. So Christina, what's the first one we're going to chat about?
Yeah, so the first one in the book that Nelson talks about is Parkinson's law. So there's a couple in this one that he talks about, and this is Parkinson. So Northcott Parkinson was a British economist, so he made these laws, but Nelson shared them with us, and thankful he did because it really shedding light on these things, right, just makes all the difference. But the first one that they have in there is work expands to meet the time envelope allowed.
I love
So true, right? Like if you tell someone they've got 3 days to do it, they're going to do it in 3 days. If you tell them they've got 30, it's going to be 30 days, right? Procrastination is a killer on productivity, and that one really nails it.
Yeah, I mean that's like with almost without exception. If you give someone a 30-day deadline to do something on day 29, remember exams in university and high school, it's like, oh, I get an exam next week. I probably should study. And then all of a sudden it's like, maybe it's the night before, and then you really start cramming and you really start studying. So yeah, work expands to meet the time allowed. If you have all kinds of time to do the task, you'll have you'll take all kinds of time. I like to play the vacation game every now and again. If the day before I go on vacation is always my most effective day because it's like I only have one day to get everything done that's going to be done for the next week or two, and you seem to get it all done. But then on a day where you don't have a lot going on, all of a sudden you get like 1/10 of that done. So I just procrastination is a killer of productivity. I love the way Nelson talks about that.
Yeah, no, and we shouldn't have those days though, Darren. Like he taught us this. He's telling us these things so that we do not do them. Yeah,
Still human, still human.
we still have those vacation days, but it is something. That's the whole point of going over these is to really, because if you can if you can conquer these, you can really win. So the second one in Parkinson's law that they talk about is a luxury once enjoyed becomes a necessity, and expenses rise to equal income. So this is absolutely true, and I like to call it lifestyle inflation because that's exactly what it is, right? So many out there that follow this rule, human nature.
Yeah, I mean, even going way back to the Wealthy Barber book, which was a great book by its time, but they talked about the millionaire next door, but it was the doctor who had the big student loan and the massive loans, would buy a big expensive home with massive debt, would buy a big expensive car because they were a doctor now making a lot of money. Therefore, they should be driving a fancy car and should be living in a fancy home. Well, once you start living in a home like that, or once you start driving a fancy car, it's really tough to say, oh, well, maybe I'm going to scale things back and move into an apartment or move into this. Even a guy at one of my mentors once explained to me, he goes, when I first started playing golf after high school or university, he goes, my golf balls used to be like 10 cents, refurbished golf balls, find them in the woods or whatever. He goes, I pay $3 a ball now for Pro V1s or whatever they cost now. And he goes like, I'm not going back. So if the cost of the 10-cent ball goes up to 11%, who cares? That doesn't affect his life. That $3 ball goes to $3.50. Well, he's going to pay it because he's used to a certain lifestyle now. And we see it all the time where people get raises and the money just disappears. It's like, yeah, I got a 10% raise or I got a bonus. Where'd it go? I bought something, I spent it, and they're not investing that money. They're just increasing their lifestyle as income increases.
Yeah, but the wealthy are not doing this, right? On the other side, when you talk about, I always remember the story that you told me when you like first started in the business. And if someone came in a fancy business suit, you'd be like, not the best client, right? If someone comes in a business suit, they come in and they're a little bit more casual, oh, that's looking better. They come in jeans. Well, this is going to be a good client. You come in jean shorts, like you're going to be the best client out there, right? I'll always remember that story you told me.
We never had the guy come in with our jean shorts. We always wanted him to, but yeah, guy comes in a fancy suit. You're going, he's got all kinds of debt and fancy home and mortgages. Guy comes in jean, driving a half ton. Maybe he's a business owner, owns a bunch of apartments, all kinds of money. But he doesn't flash it. He doesn't look at it because when he started making more money, he started putting that money into assets like the wealthy people instead of into expenses where the middle class and the people that never seem to get ahead go.
Yeah, not judging anybody in a suit. It rings true though, because Nelson does say in the book, he's like, if you can whip these, you win by default because your peers are not doing it, because there's really not, they're not acknowledging this and they're not trying to make it better, right? So it's just, it's cool.
The next one is Willie Sutton's Law. So Willie Sutton was a famous bank robber in the United States. And they asked him one time, they go, Willie, why do you rob banks? And he answered, because that's where they keep the money. Where there's accumulated wealth, someone is going to try to steal it. Okay. And who's the biggest thief out there? Well, it's CRA. So CRA is going to come for people who have money. So in our world, we look at it, we go, okay, there's no way the government can spend the money that they're spending now without increasing taxes in the future. And when they go to increase taxes in the future, do you think they're going to go to someone who's poor, has no money in the bank, and doesn't have a big income to take that money from? Well, no, those people don't have money. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to the people that have money or the money that they can identify in one of their government programs, like an RRSP. So when they look at someone with $1 million RRSP, is there a point where the government says, okay, well, that individual, great, because of their marginal tax bracket, should pay a lot more. And if they need more money, I think those are the people that are going to pay more. The people that have those RSP monies, that have the money that people can go, or the government can go and take it. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. It's a legal plunder, I guess. But, again, we need government. We're not crapping. We need government. We need all that stuff. But sometimes when the government spends too much money, where are they going to take it? The old expression, you can't take blood from stone. Well, what that means is you can't extract something which is not there. And so if they're going to go for increased taxes down the road, the first place they're going to go is taxing your income, which is your RRSPs. When you take that money out of your RRSPs in retirement, that's pure income. There's no way to shelter that money from taxes. It's pure income. So I think that's really what the Willie Sutton Law is talking about. Wherever wealth is accumulated, someone's going to come and try to steal it, a bank robber, or in this case, the government.
Yeah, he does talk a bit about how when people start sensing this or, start seeing all those taxes, a lot of the time what they'll do is they'll turn around and they'll make a program to fix they'll make an exception to the problem that they've created almost. And we've talked about the myths of RSPs and those types of things, but RSPs, tax-free savings accounts, this new brand new home buyers tax-free savings account that they're putting out, know, these are their solutions to the problem, like their exceptions to the rules that they've already created, right? Which makes you a little bit leery about using them sometimes. I know I was at the conference where Grant Cardone was speaking, and in the book as well, they refer to like 401ks and because it's the US, but he says, I'm not investing in anything that has a letter put in front of it from the government, because like not trusting that, right? And you take it with a grain of salt. We're not crapping on the government here, nor was Nelson is really he wants you to open your eyes, right? He wants you to take a look and learn and kind of do your research before jumping into these types of programs where some people just blindly might go because they've always been told that it's the best for them, right? And the goal here was to look at that, right? If you're going to put your money there, that's where your gold is. The bank robbers go to where the money is, right? So
Yeah, I remember as a young advisor, I was in this wealthy business guy's office, and I was trying to back in the day tell him about a group RSP and how he can put his money into a group RSP with lower fees, and he just kind of looked at me like I was like strange, and he's like, "You want me to put my money in a government program? Are you nuts?" And I was like, again. Wealthy people tend to invest differently. Middle-class people tend to be, government says I should put my money there. I should put your money there. Now, again, we're not crapping on all these programs. Some of these programs are great. But again, back to Christina's point, Nelson was trying to make us aware that if you accumulate money here, you're going to be a target. If you have too much money in your RSP, at some point there's going to be a day of reckoning. And when the government needs money, they're going to come. That's probably going to be the first place they're going to come. All right, what's next, Christina?
we got the golden rule.
I love this. Everyone knows the golden rule, right? It's easy.
Yeah, those who have the gold make the rules.
Exactly.
I've got the gold. I'm going to make the rules, which is so very true. And he even says this is like the one that we learn from childhood, right? Like if you've got it, if you've got the gold, if you've got the goods, you're the one that's in charge. And that's exactly what Nelson was talking about with this rule. So, he's got a couple of examples that he's given in this, but it's pretty darn straightforward, right? If you've got the money, you make the decisions on what's going to happen. And right now, for most of us, the banks, or for most people out there, the banks are those who have that money. So they make the decisions on our behalf. And again, I think this is why Nelson put it in there to open your eyes and say, listen, like who's got the gold? Who's making the decisions? Are you in charge? Are you in control right now? We talk about it all the time. Are you in control? Well, if you're not holding the gold, if you're not, the golden rule, then you're not really in control because they're the ones that are controlling it.
Yeah, you're beholden to someone else, right? If you don't have the gold, you're beholden to someone else. So take the real estate. Well, if you need money and you don't have the money, well, you're beholden to the bank, and the bank's going to make all the rules, and the bank's going to say, this is what you have to do to get a loan. This are the repayment terms. This is the steps you're going to go through, or they're going to say no. So they're going to make all the rules. Another one of my mentors had a great line along this. He said, if you have money, opportunity will seek you out. Okay? If you have money, opportunity will seek you out. Once you've accumulated cash, once you've included ideally cash value life insurance money, when you have accumulated a certain amount, it is, trust me, people will seek you out and go, oh, did you hear about this private land? Oh, would you like to invest in this? All these things that you never heard of before, once you accumulate cash, all of a sudden the world works in mysterious ways, and people are now going to say, hey, would you be interested in investing in this or doing that? So I love that rule.
Yeah, it's a good one. And he gets into the government side as well, as where people kind of instead of wanting to do it for themselves, and instead of wanting to, take back that control, seek those opportunities, a lot of people will rely on the government to fix the problem, right? If they can't afford the house, how is the government going to fix it? If they can't, afford groceries, how is the government going to fix it? And that mentality just doesn't work. And we know it's not working because we're seeing it happen right in my backyard right now. I'm seeing it happen with the housing crisis that we have here, right? You can't depend on the government to fix your problems. You need to take control of it. You need to become that golden rule and take back the gold. You got to become Willie Sutton, okay? We've all got to become.
So what are you going to do is rob a bank in order to buy a house. It feels like it some days for young people today. But no, what we're getting at there is you've got to accumulate a pot of your own gold so you can set the rules for your life, right? If you have cash value life insurance, cash, real estate investments, well, now you can set the rules. Where people really struggle is, some of those other things, they start spending more money as they make more money and they don't save money. Well, unless you save money, build wealth, build gold, in Nelson's example, you can't make the rules. You're always going to be beholden to someone else. You're always going to be a renter. You're always going to be subject to the bank's whims or subject to someone else's whims. If you accumulate the gold, you get to make the rules.
Exactly. And again, he's trying to get us to change our mind shift, to acknowledge these human problems and shift away and fix them so that you can be better.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, I think this will ring true for a lot of people out there. We all know people with the next one. It's called the arrival syndrome. And the arrival syndrome is where people think they already know what they need to know. It's like, oh, I know that. Oh, you don't have to tell me about insurance. I know insurance. Or you don't have to tell me about RSPs. I know RSPs. And this arrival syndrome, well, people think they know. And I love the Mark Twain quote. He goes, it's not what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so, right? So I think a lot of people, and I don't want to pick out any professions, but it'd be easy to do in our industry where if a certain profession comes across us, it's like, well, I guess I'm going to call them out. It's like, what? Not all of them, but it's like, well, I went to med school. You don't have to tell me about finances. I understand everything. And it's like, really? Okay. So I'm a big believer in a lifelong learning. I don't know everything about anything. And the quest to continue to learn is what wealthy people do. We always talk about investing in yourself. If you're one of those people that think you know everything about a certain thing, trust me, you don't. The arrival syndrome, Christina, what else do you want to say about the arrival syndrome?
I think it's probably one of the worst ones out there. Like if this happens to you, you're in a really bad spot. This is not an ideal place to be because you're not going to be moving forward, right? You're going to stop your growth. You're going to stop being inspired by others. It's really, it's just, you don't want to arrive here. You don't want to arrive at the arrival syndrome. And there's a lot of people out there that do. And when talking about this and infinite banking and how they kind of go hand in hand is that this is not a traditional way of thinking. This is not what the banks and, grandma and grandpa, well, actually great grandma and grandpa probably did because it's been around that long, but it's not something that, people take the time to learn. But then again, at the same time, they're not teaching anything in high school anyways, right? So I don't know how anybody would have learned everything there was about finance because there's just not a lot of places to learn it. And this is something that you've got to open your mind to and take the time to learn it. Like we sit down for education sessions with individuals that want to learn more about infinite banking, and they are investing an hour of their time to learn more about it. Not everybody's going to do that. And a lot of the time, the reason they're not going to do it is because they've arrived at this place where they think they've already know everything that there is to know, and they don't need to take that extra step to learn more, which can be very damaging for your future, right? It's not going to get you very far.
Yeah, I mean, people, oh, RSPs are the way to go. I know that. I don't need to look at anything else. And all of a sudden they turn 60 and they're like, ooh, maybe it's too late to fix the arrival syndrome back then. But I mean, you talk about infinite banking. I'm pretty knowledgeable in infinite banking. I do this every single day for a lot of years now. I still attend conferences left and right on infinite banking, and I learn something every single time. You've got to be continually improving your knowledge. So the arrival syndrome, don't call people out, but you'll recognize people now when it's like, oh no, you don't have to tell me about that. I know everything about that. Don't be one of those people.
No. Our next one is use it or lose it. This is pretty straightforward. Use it or lose it. This is definitely human nature. I think it's more than human nature. Well, it's like it's with anything in life, right? If you don't go to the gym, you're going to lose your health. Like if you don't keep your routines, keep your patterns, like you don't do those things, you're going to lose it. And I think it's an important human behavior that he points out, because it's something that, especially with infinite banking, we talk about learning the strategy a lot, but it's all about utilizing it. And if you're not using it, you're losing it, which is why it's so important to continue learning from others and what they're doing and, how to use infinite banking, because the more you learn about it, the more you're going to utilize it. The more you utilize it, the better it is. And I feel like that's what he's saying here, right? You need to practice this on a regular basis. You need to learn about it, and you need to keep it in the top of mind, which is what we really thrive to do with our clients by having these podcasts and stuff, right? Because if it's at your fingertips, if it's in your, ear pods, it's a lot easier to listen and to use it, which is exactly why we do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just saving in cash value life insurance. It's also, okay, well, once I save, then what do I use that for? How do I multiply my money so it's in more than one place at the same time? Now, as a standalone, it's still a great investment or a great place to park capital on its own. But really, the value is when you use it, right? And that's why we regularly meet with clients to say, okay, what are you going to use it for? What about this? What about that? And it's just that top of mind. So, Christy, anything else on the use it or lose it?
No, I think that one's pretty darn straightforward.
All right.
Pretty easy.
So the first episode we talked about the technical problems. This was the human problems. The next one we're gonna actually break it down, discussing how you start your own bank or how you start your own infinite banking and how you structure that. So look for part 3 coming up. But that's it for part 2 today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to this podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. And if you want more information, check out our website, controllandcompound.com, and you can sign up for an education session with one of our wealth coaches.